Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
Yeah, so we got this women's flyweight contender fight, actually. You know what I mean? Like you got Miranda Maverick, who is ranked, and Jamey-Lyn Horth coming in on somewhat short notice to fill in this spot.
What was it gonna be?
It was going to be. One moment, please.
Yes.
Dion Barbosa. No, sorry. Tracy Cortez, actually.
Okay.
So it was supposed to be Tracy Cortez, I believe, and now it is not.
Jamey-Lyn Horth.
And it's Jamey-Lyn
okay.
Horth, right? So what do you think just on this whole situation right here?
I mean, I think from what I rewatched Jamey-Lyn's last fight, and I also rewatched Miranda's last fight, and I think when it comes to striking, one thing I noticed with Jamey-Lyn's striking is she's got like a very awkward style, which isn't. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm actually saying that in a positive way. It's hard to read, because she is. One thing I could see in the striking differences is Miranda is a lot faster, but she's very kind of conventional MMA striking. She's got that kind of style, which can be easier to read, whereas Jamey-Lyn, she's very focused on pressure, but she's also just very awkward in her striking. And even though her striking is a little bit slower, I would say that sometimes when you're fighting with someone like that, it's like you can't get your rhythm properly. You can't, because you're going off of what the other person is doing, and if she's throwing all this weird shit, it's hard to read. I think in terms of when it comes to the wrestling and the grappling, I think Miranda obviously has got a big wrestling background, right? And she is as well the shorter fighter, which to some people you'd think that would be a disadvantage, but for her wrestling it is an advantage. I mean, the shorter you are, the closer you are to the legs, right? So if she wants to go blast for a double, she doesn't need to shoot that far in order to get there. And from what I saw with Jamey-Lyn's last fight, I think she does have good wrestling and she does have good pressure as well, but I think she can get taken down. And I think Miranda's game plan should be to wrestle her. When it comes to striking, there is such a big difference in size that it might get in Miranda's way, and might confuse her a little bit, especially with the awkward style that I was talking about before. So yeah, I think with Miranda's height and her, she's got she's shorter and she's wider, so she's going to be stronger in those shooting for doubles or shooting for singles, and I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see Jamie trying to almost, I feel like Miranda needs to be the pressure person, if Jamie starts pressuring, then we don't know. I feel like it's gonna go to her advantage, of course, especially her being bigger as well. And if she can, apply that pressure, but if she can get Jamie on her back, if Miranda can get Jamey-Lyn on her back foot, then I see Miranda, getting the win with the wrestling advantage.
Okay. Let's.
It was a rant. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. Diving a little deeper into Miranda Maverick. She started off with two good wins, and then even beating Jillian Robertson.
Yeah.
And then she lost back to back against Macy Barber and Erin Blanchfield. Kind of a little too much too early, I think.
Yeah.
In those matchups.
She was hyped and she was given some really good opportunities for sure.
For sure. And then she came back and won back-to-back fights, even finishing one by submission against Sabina Mazo. Then she lost a decision to Jasmine Jasu Vicious, and then she came back, and now she's on a 3-fight winning streak,
Nice.
and got a number next to her name, right? So
Yeah.
she's turned turned it around. You know what I mean? She's had some rocky moments, but she's made all the right adjustments. She's out there in Denver. She can wrestle. She does before she was in Denver, she was part of like this Muay Thai academy for a long time as well. So she does have the striking, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look like she has like a Muay Thai background when she fights. Like
No.
you said, it's like a MMA striking. It's more of like there's not like any fanciness to it at
No.
all. It's
No.
just like straightforward, and some of her opponents take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so she kind of like gets sucked into their game sometimes, and she loses fights because of that too.
Yeah.
So that's something you got to look at as well in this fight coming up is like what's her mindset? Like how does she feel about the matchup? Like how's she going in? Because there's like all these things like factors. I think with certain fighters it affects and certain fighters it doesn't. But like a certain fighter, like let's say they have like a couple injuries, right? And they go into a fight, that will make them lose the fight before they even step into the cage,
Yeah.
because they're already thinking about the injuries the whole time.
Yeah.
And when they fight, they're just thinking about the injuries, even though they don't feel it.
Yeah.
They're just thinking about injury, and then next thing you know, they get caught, knocked out or something.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
exactly.
you don't know, like, what's going on in their heads.
Yeah.
When you see them on TV, you just see them on TV, and they're getting ready
you
to
don't
fight.
Think, but in their head, they've got all these different things going on. And, like mental strength is so important.
Yeah.
It's just as important as physical strength, right? So, yeah, if she's got injuries, or as well, like, this is Jamey-Lyn is coming in on short notice, so she could have been planning for Tracy Cortez, and then now there's this.
That's
new
a
girl.
mind fuck for her
It is
now.
a mind fuck
For
right?
her, she's just like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I was training for a grappler, now I gotta get, and I'm facing a striker
Yeah, exactly.
that doesn't grapple.
So that can affect you as well.
Yeah, I think she has like she's from like watching some of her fights too, that like her what is it, decision making in a fight can be questionable.
Yeah.
And I think that's all just on the mental side. So like I think she's been battling that a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
she's like overcome it with this 3-fight win streak. Like she's like, okay, I understand what I need to do.
Yeah.
And she's gonna go in there and she's gonna run past Jamey-Lyn Horth, right?
Yeah.
With what you said, the game plan of going in there and grappling. She's
Yeah.
shorter. She's stockier. She can wrestle. She has a decent gas tank.
Yeah.
And if you put a striker on their back, they can't do nothing, right? And
Yeah.
you keep them there for 3 rounds. That's an easy win without taking much damage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and one thing about her, I think she'll chase the finish against Jamey-Lyn. Let's look at Jamey-Lyn. You know, what I mean, she came in on short notice, up a weight class, won that fight, which is
Pretty
crazy.
impressive, yeah.
Then went back down to her weight, lost her first fight ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In her career.
Yeah.
And then came back and won this fight, her most recent fight in November.
It was close. It was a
Yeah,
close one,
both
but
of
yeah,
them were
but
close,
she
split
did-
decisions, right?
Yeah. She did
Now
win
she's
that
got a huge step up in competition, because this is Jamey-Lyn's 4th fight in the UFC.
Wow.
This is Miranda Maverick's 11th fight in the UFC. That's a
Right.
huge difference,
Right,
And
yeah.
the level of competition as well. Like Maverick she's faced Blanchfield, Macy Barber. That's like right now. That's the cream of the crop in the
Yeah.
division,
Yeah.
right? So, is it gonna be too much too early?
I don't
for
know.
Jamey-Lyn?
This is another thing. It's like it's with the mind, right? It's whether she can, whether she's mentally strong enough to just think, this girl, whether or not she's had 11 fights in the UFC or not, she's just another competitor, just like Jamey-Lyn, right? So it's like it's whether you can move past that mentally and just fight her as a fighter and not think about like really too much in the moment and
Yeah.
have that confidence of like, I've stood with some pretty good girls. I've only lost once, so it's like, and I lost against someone who is, bigger than me. So she has to have a mindset of that and have that self-confidence and not let something like that affect her, while also being smart, right? Also understanding that this is her highest level of competition and she does need to be in there, fully. One thing as well I wanted to comment that you were saying about Miranda and her questionable choices. She has made some questionable choices, but when I rewatched that her last fight, I forget who it was against, a Brazilian girl, but
Yeah, Barboza.
Barboza, yeah. So she fought her, but she was very attentive to her corner, like very attentive. Like you could hear, because it was in the apex, and you could hear her coach telling her and her following, like instruction by instruction, like doing everything that he was telling her to do. Now, granted, I don't know if she's going to be able to hear him as well in this arena, but she's obviously learned from her mistakes, and she knows to listen to her corner. She knows that, like, she's been making, at least with that last fight, she really made all the necessary actions and changes, and she was listening. So that's something to think about as well. She's obviously been improving in that, and she knows that was an issue of hers before. So
yeah. Miranda, she's a pretty big favorite in this fight, and we just explained why.
Yeah.
Because most likely this is the scenario. If Jamey-Lyn, if her grappling is to the level, right, where she can defend against Maverick, and her, like, her wrestling, her trips, and she can kind of tire her out early, then it's a whole nother game after that.
Yeah.
Right? It changes the dynamics of the fight. If she can do that, if she can go in there early on and defend against Miranda Maverick and her takedowns. If she gets taken down once, I feel like the first try and she gets taken down, I feel like that's just going to happen over and over and over again.
Because Miranda has really good top pressure as well. So if she can just dominate that way, then she can get the decision. But she, just as you said, I feel like she'd be hunting for a finish. So, but I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one. Something I saw in Jamey-Lyn's last fight is she was actually pretty good at whipping up submissions on her back, and that could happen, right? She could get Miranda in a compromising position, and she could get a submission. She could get like an armbar or a triangle or something, especially with her size difference, right? There's that possibility. So I'm gonna root for the underdog and my fellow Canadian and go for Jamey-Lyn in this fight.
That's a reach because Miranda Maverick's never been finished by submission. And Jamey-Lyn, let me see Jamey-Lyn. Jamey-Lyn only has 2 submissions wins in her career.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just numbers.
Yeah, but I say, things happen all the time. This is MMA.
They do.
It's a good reach, right? It's a good reach.
Look at Kong Wang.
Yeah, exactly. Damn it. All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay.
That was a little good chat.